I wouldn't let anybody bully me. I spoke French at home, so I still had a little bit of an accent. And if somebody would make fun of my accent, I would try to bite them in the neck. I would fight anybody. We're in Okinawa. I'm 16 years old. I'm with my coach. We don't know any Japanese. They don't know any English, barely at all. And we're trying to find this karate master we saw in a documentary on the Discovery Channel. The guy doesn't show up for weigh-ins, so I have to go back home, come back. This fight falls through. This fight falls through. This guy, we're already weighing in, but he's got a mouth infection. They're not letting him fit. Bro, the worst luck in the world. I think I called my mom from backstage after I won. And I was just like, Mom, I'm going to get the UFC contract. I'll call you after I get the contract. I knew, when I met Strickland, you couldn't see him without paint on his clothes. He was painting houses. And he had some beat up truck and he had a gi in the back that was calcified. The gi was stone or something. He would wear it and then just leave it in the back of the truck and wear it.
Natan, welcome to the podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. It's awesome to speak to you. You're actually the first active UFC fighter that we've had a conversation with. So we're really excited to get into some of your backgrounds, where you got involved with martial arts from. Of course, we were just talking off air as well that you also did the Ultimate Self-Defense Championships. So we had the pleasure of watching that and seeing you nearly kick somebody in half during the shank tank.
Oh, man, I was so funny on it. Yeah. Nearly murdered the poor guy.
Yeah. So we'll get into all that. So that'll be awesome. But when we speak to new guests, we always like to kind of go back to the beginning with them a little bit and I guess understand where they grew up, what life was like, and how they eventually got into martial arts and combat sports. So I think you were born in France but grew up in Israel, right?
Yeah, correct. I moved to Israel when I was 2 months old. So pretty much my whole life.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Israel? Tell us about
that. Good. I think better than the life I probably would have had in Paris. Because we moved back when I was 4 to 5 years old to France. And we would just, me and my big brothers, we would hate it. I'd ask my mom, when I was 4 years old, why is it always gray here? Because in Israel, it's sunny and it's nice and there's the beach and Paris is beautiful, of course. But as a kid, you see everything is gray. Everything is building. So life in Israel is incredible. Of course, there's, the little issue of sometimes getting missiles shot at you. But other than that, it's perfect.
What was the kind of scene like in Israel for MMA? Is there much of a scene? Is it legal? Are you able to do it?
It's legal, but it's not what you would call it there's no commission. It's not anything formal. You can have fights. It's not illegal. But it wasn't very developed. Not at least until I had to fly to America to become a fighter, because there was nothing in Israel. I actually started watching UFC in K1 fights when I was pretty young, maybe 12 years old. And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to train, but there was no gyms. So I signed up to a Kung Fu and Karate school because that's what we had.
Yeah, and then tell us about that, because that isn't, maybe karate a little bit, but Kung Fu certainly isn't a martial art you tend to see so much in modern MMA or UFC certainly. I mean, how did you, how did you find those martial arts in the beginning, and what do you kind of make of them now? Now you incorporate them into mixed martial arts.
Well, I came again with this idea that MMA is the best. All this Kung Fu stuff is nonsense. But then I started training, and I actually, I did enjoy it. I did think training was very difficult, very challenging. And I started to believe that a Kung Fu guy could beat Fedor Emelianenko. Somebody in school asked me, you think your coach can beat Fedor? I'm like, man, I don't know. If it's a street fight and he can hit him in the throat, then yeah, I believe in him. So I got sold pretty hard. But I I do think the training was great. The training was very hard, and it did a lot of good for me, and it prepared me to the day, obviously years later, when I decided I want to do MMA, to fly to Las Vegas and make an MMA career.
Hey grapplers, we are now sponsored by X Martial.
X Martial have sent us some new quality British design rash guards. These are just the British designs, but they do loads and loads of really cool designs. You know, they got the OnlyFans ones, they got the Hillbilly ones, they got the Pornhub ones, they got all the
yeah, Game of Chokes.
They got all that sort of stuff, which to be honest, you just don't see anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And they also specialize in not just no-gi, but also Muay Thai as well. So if you're cross training and you want to pick up some Thai boxing shorts, and that's the place to go as well. Genuinely
really do like them. I think they feel really nice. That's what I like about them. They feel really nice. They got the band at the bottom, and I've took them for a spin and they sweat up quite nicely.
And better yet, guys, we've managed to secure a really good discount for our audience. So if you use our link below, then you get an automatic 15% off of everything on their website.
Get that up, look, so they can see that shit.
Yeah, so what does a typical Kung Fu session look like?
Wow. Let me tell you about my first session. So I was doing some MMA style training. It was like judo mixed with karate. It was like a very primitive MMA, we'll call it. So I trained there for a few months. I always had like a big interest in martial arts and wanted to train. That was the only thing I found, and it was kind of boring. The training wasn't really too challenging, even though I knew nothing. And then I moved to high school, and I started talking with some different kids from a different school. In high school, like you meet different middle schoolers, and they were telling me they were training at this crazy Kung Fu gym. They're breaking bricks with their fingers. They're doing telling me crazy stories, and I'm like hardly believing them. But I told them, okay, bring me to a session. So I show up to the gym. I open the door. First thing I see is somebody getting wheel kicked in the face, and like sweat and blood like going all over the place.
No way.
The coach walks up to me all angry, and he's like, "You're late. Like, I was told to be here at 7:30. No, start time is 7. Give me 50 push-ups on your fingers, 50 push-ups on your knuckles this way, 50 this way, and 50 on your hands." I'm like, okay, I'll try. I start doing them. Obviously, maybe I did 30, 40, and I'm like getting tired. I tell him, that's all I got. He's like, keep going. I keep trying. The muscle is starting to fail pretty hard. Keep going. Whenever I tell him, like, hey man, I can't, excuse me, sir, I can't do anymore. There's no such thing. Keep going until you're done. By the end of it, I get my 200 push-ups in, then it's 500 sit-ups.
No way.
Yeah, and I was always pretty, I don't want to say gifted, because I'm not that gifted, but I was always like in decent shape as a teenager. And I was training before that, like it wasn't my first session ever. I was training in that other martial art. So I showed up in pretty good shape, but it was very hard. Then we start like stand in front of each other, hands under the armpit, like horse stance. And somebody's in front of you and they just like slapping you. And you're supposed to block it. Boom, you get your head like thrown. Okay, now you're starting to shake like you're nervous from the next one. You tried to like block before, like, no, put your hands back down. Every time a slap comes, you got to try and block it. So I got slapped up pretty hard. I don't think I blocked one that day. Then we did some sparring. I got my ass kicked. All kinds of different torture, different things. Staying in the horse stance for a long time and like starting to like scream from pain. But the dessert was, and that's only my first session ever.
Oh my gosh.
Dessert was like butterfly, when you sit in butterfly.
Yeah.
On your ass, and my knees were like this angle, like 90 degrees, like no flexibility. On the wall, the coach puts one leg on one knee and then puts the other leg on the other knee and forces it to the floor.
What?
Yeah, I start screaming, get off me, I can't get off me. He's like, count to 10. Get off me, please, sir, please get off me, I can't, it's too painful. Count to 10. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count to 10 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, come on, please get off me. He's like, no, I'm not gonna get off you until you count to 10 calmly. Okay, I'm in pain, but I count to 10 and he gets off me. And in this moment, I have like a big realization that first thing is like, I was in pain and I was hurting, but right now it's over. So it's in the past. Like I'm thankful. I'm like, wow, thank God this is over. But I also understand, wow, that really hurt a moment ago. Probably the biggest pain of my life. And we're like 10 seconds after and it doesn't hurt that much anymore. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't gonna get it off me until I like calm down and go through it the right way. And, I carry this with me to this day. Like some things you gotta go through, there's no way around it. And you still gotta do it right. And there are no shortcuts. And as scary as it is and as painful as it's gonna be, at some point it's gonna be in the past. It's gonna be nothing but a memory. So class was over. He said, for a good reason, 99% of people who come to my first class don't show up to the second one. So it was nice meeting you. And I decided I was going to be that guy that shows up again and again and again and again for years.
For years? You stayed with that guy for years?
Oh, for years. The next year, I started this when I just turned 15. So I started showing up like, it was beginner's class or something like that, 2 times a week. And it was like a good 2 hours. And then I got, pretty quickly, I would still, like my knees would physically shake before every session. Like I was terrified of every session, but I'd still show up. And slowly it became, okay, you can come to 1 more time a week. Then it was like, okay, I'm moving you to the advanced group. You're going to train 3 hours. And then I started showing up to the beginner and stay for the advanced. And then he had private lessons during the day. So I would go to school. I had nothing in my backpack but my gi. The moment I can, quit school, leave, jump the fence, go train. And within a year, it became like my life. Like that was all I was doing. That's all I thought about, all I cared about. And the next summer, after I've been only training for like a year and a half, I flew with my coach to Japan to train there. And we were doing like, at the time we were doing a mix of Kung Fu and Karate. And then we went to Okinawa to like find a new karate master. So I joined him. And I'd asked my mom if I can go with my karate coach to Japan in the summer. I was 16 years old. And she was doing the dishes. She didn't even pay attention. She was like, yeah, sure, honey, you can do that. Next day, I show up with the plane ticket. And that summer, the moment school is over, I fly to Okinawa. There, crazy experience as well.
Yeah, it literally sounds like something out of a Jean-Claude Van Damme film, like Bloodsport or something, called Kickboxer.
Yeah, it's like it's Cobra Kai, mate.
Yeah, that's some experience.
It is Cobra Kai.
It's Cobra Kai. Mate.
I can see now why you thought your instructor might better beat Fedor Emelianenko at the time. That's a tough dude. But mate, the fair play to you. That's hell of a mindset that you've got there at like such a young age. I mean, were you always like that growing up, to be that resilient and that stubborn and determined to kind of suffer that sort of experience to keep going?
Not at all. That's the funny thing. I was always like big like fighter. I wouldn't let anybody bully me. I came, I spoke French at home, so I still had a little bit of an accent. And if somebody would make fun of my accent, I would like try to bite them in the neck. I would fight anybody. From first grade, I would fight like sixth grader, 10th grader. I don't care. One time, some kid, said something to me. This is how underpowered I was. Like he said something to me on the bus, and I came to punch him, and he actually, like a big kid, kicked me in the face. And the bus doors just opened, and I flew out of the bus at my stop. So I was always getting in trouble. I didn't care the size of the guy or anything or how many there were. I never started fights, but I always tried to finish them. So I had this mentality. But as far as training and being disciplined and consistent, I was the complete opposite. Every time I'd go train somewhere, and I always wanted to train, it would get either too boring or too hard, and I would just quit. Usually my mom would sign me up for 1 month, and that'd be the end of it. But at some age, I think I really wanted to change and not be a lazy piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And obviously school was not I wasn't going to be a rocket engineer. So I took the martial arts seriously. I wanted to change. I wanted to be more confident. I wanted to be stronger. I had a big passion for martial arts, but it was a big case of when the student is ready, the teacher arrives,
That's so funny, mate. That is a wild start. That is a wild start to a martial art journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And then you obviously went to Okinawa. And how long were you there for, did you say?
So I flew for a month, a little bit over a month. I flew with my bar mitzvah money, if you know.
Okay.
When you're Jewish and you're 13, they do a bar mitzvah, a big birthday party. Uh-huh. You become a man, and the gift is people give, some money, some checks. So I had a few grand from it. I bought the ticket with that money. I flew with that money. And we got there. We're in Okinawa. I'm 16 years old. I'm with my coach. We don't know any Japanese. They don't know any English, barely at all. And we're trying to find this karate master we saw in a documentary on the Discovery Channel.
So you're just searching for some random guy you don't even know you're coming.
Mate, this is a film. This is a film.
This is honestly amazing. Keep going.
So, first order of business, we buy a pair of bicycles. We learn our first Japanese word, jitensha, which is a bicycle. And we start riding around the town. And we started hearing, hey, from somewhere. We're there's a dojo somewhere. Maybe it's his. We go to where the sound is coming from, and it's a Kyokushin gym. And they're training and doing kia, they're screaming. It's no, this is not our guy. Let's keep looking. So we find a town hall. And we go and we ask there's a lady in town hall. She actually speaks a little bit of English. And we ask her, we're looking for Shinjo Sensei. Can you help us? She's helping us. There's a bunch. It's 2008, and it's Okinawa. It's not New York. She opens a big yellow phone book and starts looking for him. She finds the address and she gives it to us. So we take a taxi there. And we arrive, but there's no dojo in sight. Sorry. So, again, no Japanese. So we're looking for the gym. We can't find it. And I'll never forget this. We see an old lady watering her plants, minding her own business. In the middle of nowhere, just some street with houses, no dojo in sight. And we're we show her the piece of paper with the address. And we're we're looking for this place, please. Do you know? We thought it was going to be 2 minutes from here, right? The taxi dropped us off. It's like at the wrong street, but it's like should be somewhere around here. She tells us to come with her and get in her car. And we're like, oh no, please don't. We just show us where it is, you know, kind of miming it, speaking English. If you, you know, put your English like down a few levels, it makes it easier for them to understand it. And she just insists, get in the car. She drives us for over 30 minutes and puts us at the gym, at the dojo.
That is wild.
Wild, because this is like Japanese people. They're so kind, so helpful, maybe the best people on the planet. She was minding her own business, old lady, watering her plants. 2 guys out of nowhere show, and she drives them for 30 minutes, and then she's got to drive back home for 30 minutes. This whole story cost her like an hour and a half of her day for 2 people you don't know. I can tell you, when I go to France and I speak fluent French and I tell people, excuse me, just to ask them where something is, they don't even look at you. Okay?
It's like that in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Israel, it's not. But also, I don't think anybody will drive you like for an hour for, you know, just to like give a hand.
Yeah.
Israeli people are also very kind, but like this is a different level of just going out of your way for somebody you don't know. So she takes us to the dojo. The coach is there, the master, and you know, we ask if we can train, and he says no. He doesn't speak English, but he has a person translating for him, a student. And every time they go back and forth, you know, we tell something to the student, hey, we came all the way from Israel to train with you. Please accept us. They speak in Japanese. And then the student says, Sensei is not accepting new students right now. He's going to refer you to a different dojo. Where are you staying? Oh, you're staying in Naha? There's a great coach there. Basically, they're trying to refer you. Every coach transfers you to a lesser coach until you end up at the bottom, at the one who really needs students, you know, the dojo that's empty and really needs students.
Yeah.
And the master allegedly does not speak a word of English. Okay, you know, you can't really argue with him. You bow, say thank you, and you leave. The next day, so his dojo, same location. First floor is like a dojo, all wood, very traditional. And second floor is his house. That's his home. He lives there. He has like a balcony. So the next morning we show up to his house. And in Okinawa, mango fruits are very expensive. A box of like 3 will cost you $100.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they're all like, they have like a case, you know, so they don't get damaged. It's like very, I don't know how to say, like luxury. You know, not anybody buys a mango any day. So dude wakes up. Dude is the karate master, wakes up, you know, opens his door of his balcony, walks out, and sees us waiting for him under his house. And he just like shakes his head, comes down to talk with us. And we give him the mango and we tell him, you know, in Japanese, please teach us, please teach us. And now all of a sudden he speaks a little bit of English and he's like, cannot, no new students, bye-bye. Okay, thank you. We do the same thing the next morning and the next morning and the next morning. And every time he speaks a little bit more English until, you know, after like 5-6 days of this, he tells us, okay, please today, 12 o'clock, go Shoreido. It's like a store. Buy gi. 6 p.m. come dojo. Okay, I sensei means yes. So basically, you know, he was messing with us. He was speaking much more English that he let on at the beginning to kind of not deal with us. But since he had to deal with us, might as well talk. And he had pretty good English for a Japanese guy. So we're very grateful, and we leave, and with the mind we need to go buy the gis and come back tonight. We walk past the store, and I tell my coach, hey, let's buy the gis over here. So, we got this out of the way, and we show up tonight. And he's like, no, Sensei said buy the gis at 12 o'clock at Shoreido. So that's what we're going to do. And he was right, because that was actually a test. We show up to Shoreido at noon, and he's there. He tells them in Japanese, like, the gis to get us. The gis are also very high quality and expensive. They kind of like tailor it on you. Mm. So he made sure that we went to where he said, at the time we said, to do what he said. So that's what we did. We got lucky and that he didn't listen to me. And then that same night, we went to the training session. It was a very hard training session. A lot of torture, hard training. They beating on you. You have to do a lot of a big thing in our style that we did and was similar to the style we came to learn in Japan. A lot of it is just standing and being beaten. I don't know how good it is, what it really does for you, but it's at least a mental thing where you can't move, don't move an inch. You're a statue and they're hitting you. So a lot of that. And then at the end we had sparring matches. My coach sparred a black belt, former, Japan champion, and he did pretty good. And the only thing, and same thing with me, I fought a brown belt, and I did pretty good. The only thing is, I didn't mention it, we threw face punches, and that was not allowed. So the sensei was a little bit mad at us, but he understood, because when we were training in Israel, we had no gear, no mouth guard, no cups, no gloves, and we would spar that everything goes.
How have you got such nice teeth still, mate? I don't understand.
Okay, so these are not mine.
Okay, that explains a lot.
In America now, baby.
Yeah.
These got punched in. Yeah, we didn't do, it wasn't Vale Tudo because we didn't do takedown because we were Kung Fu and karate, but we would kick each other's groin. That was completely fair. Face, we would slap a lot. We would face punch with the hand, a little bit half closed, So a lot of times we'd get caught. I got these two front teeth shoved into my back of my
gum.
Yeah. I got these two teeth destroyed pretty much. So that's how we used to do it. And it didn't slide in Japan. The coach was mad. But we said, okay, sorry, we won't do it again. We'll do what you say. Everything you say goes. And then I trained there for a month at 16 years old. Went back home, did my last year of school, which consisted mostly of skipping school to go train. And then I did the same thing again, but this time I flew to Japan for 3 months. Even harder training. Got my black belt at the end of the 3 months. I'm really shortening it up because second trip to Japan is even crazier, but a lot of the same, just training all day training. From 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then from 5 to 9, just every day. Crazy overtraining. And I got my black belt at the end of it. Flew back to Israel, opened a gym, was really successful. Opened another gym. I was doing very good. But I started to watch UFC again. Mm-hmm. It was around UFC 100. My friend was like, bro, you got to watch this fight nights with me today. Yeah. I'm like, bro, this stuff doesn't work. If they meet a karate master from Okinawa, he would deflate them with his fingers. He would do this and that. And he's like, bro, just watch the fights. So I went to his house. We watched the fights, UFC 100. I enjoyed it. And it kind of sparked back my love for MMA. And after a couple of years of teaching karate and watching UFC at like 4 or 5 a.m. every time, once a month. It was back in the day. I decided that I'm gonna close my gyms, buy a plane ticket to Las Vegas, and become a UFC fighter.
Mate, that's a crazy story.
Man, that's wild, isn't it? You just shut your successful gyms and was just like, I'm just gonna go to Vegas and see what happens.
Yeah, that was a big mistake in hindsight.
Did you have any plan, like when you got there?
No.
It's so good.
Just buy a bicycle and cycle around Vegas, right?
Yeah.
You'll find the way you need to go.
Did you
Pretty
still
much.
Keep in touch with your master, like the kung fu guy?
My first coach,
Yeah, the one that you went to Japan with.
not so much. He wasn't really into me doing MMA.
Right. Okay.
That caused like a big stir in our relationship. We were pretty much like brothers. But he didn't like me wanting to do MMA. Same thing about the master in Okinawa. After that, when I had my schools, we would do seminars with him and bring him to Israel. We did that a couple times. And when I told him I had like the intention to do MMA, he said, not in a mean way, but he said like, probably from like not understanding it completely. He said like, oh, MMA is dogfight. Please don't, he thought probably something that runs a lot is like MMA is barbaric. Traditional karate is about like respect. It's not about only fighting. But I think there's a lot of value in combat sports too. I don't think it's like some barbaric animals, biting each other. I think it has a lot of, depends of course how you do it. Mm-hmm. But I think if you have the right morals and attitude, I think there's no difference between hitting the bags with a glove or without a glove, sparring somebody, fighting somebody in the gym or in a ring. Like, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's super technical, isn't it? I think, again, you might disagree with this, but do you find they're so against it because MMA at times will expose those sort of martial arts?
I think for sure there's a part of it for many people. About the karate master, I don't know if he knew enough about it to think it exposes him. You know what I mean? To even understand like what it's really about. I think for him, it's really about the Budo and like the way and dedicating yourself to a craft. And he thinks MMA is just, he thinks it's bum fights. He thinks it's street beefs. That's what he thinks,
The ones that you see on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if my student would tell me, hey, I'm going to beat some guys up on street beefs, I might tell him like, the fuck are you doing? Like, go train properly and fight properly. So for him, that's probably the same reaction. Like, what are you doing these dog fights? Keep training karate, keep being disciplined, keep training hard. You don't need this stuff. I think that's where it came from. But for me, obviously, looking up to him, to both my coach and my master, and getting told by both of them that like if I start doing MMA, I'm no longer like a karate man, karate-ka, somebody that represents karate and stuff, then that hurt me a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. But nonetheless, you pursued the dream anyway and flew out to Vegas and obviously didn't arrive with much of a plan. Were you kind of just hoping to bump into Dana White, or what was the thoughts when you kind of landed in Vegas?
Wait outside his house with mangoes, mate.
Yes, yeah. UFC Apex with mangoes.
In Vegas, you got to give them strippers.
That's it, yeah, of course.
I showed up, no plan. I had rented I knew I was going to rent a room from some Israeli guy. So that's the only plan I had. Like I had somewhere to land, but that was it.
Was there a particular gym that you were thinking about?
I was thinking of going to Extreme Couture. Mm. And, I'd even sent emails, I think, to like Extreme Couture and Ed Soares and all kinds of people. Telling them, hey, I'm a karate practitioner from Israel. I'm going to come to America to be a UFC fighter. Maybe you can help me or something like that. And nobody ever responded. For a good reason. for a good reason. So I show up in Vegas. I luckily, like through a connection, a friend of my brother has a cousin that lives here. They're like, go meet with him, have coffee. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I meet with this guy, and he tells me he has a friend who's a MMA coach. He's like a boxing striking coach, and he trains a bunch of MMA guys and UFC fighters. So that's Jimmy Giff. I go and meet him, and he tells me, okay, we're gonna do a session. I have like some gloves that I borrowed from a friend. Like I have nothing. My fight shorts, I knew I couldn't show up with like the gi pants. So I just had like regular sweatpants that I cut with scissors to make like fight shorts out of them.
Nice.
I show up and he tells me, okay, get in your fight stance. And I get like, all karate. And he's like, oh, fuck. Okay, you're going to hit the bag. Show me what you got. Puts the timer on, and I start going on the bag. Now in Israel, it's a small place. You have a small gym. You have one heavy bag and 20 people. So we used to like hit the bag, but it'd be like you're in a line. Every time you hit the bag for like 10, 20 seconds, go all out, and then you rest and recover while you're waiting. So that's what I did. I went like full on. But there is no time next. Like I'm still going and going and going. And I look at the clock and I understand there's like 4 more minutes to go. And I'm already gassed out. So I keep going as hard as I can. I throw a million spinning back kicks. And then I'm just like dying on the bag. After that, Giff, the coach, holds pads for me. Tries to like teach me some stuff. I'm still pretty gassed, but I'm like trying to learn and do what he tells me. Then we jump even rope. We jump rope for the first time in my life. I jump rope for like 10 minutes. Like that killed me. That was super hard for me to do. By the end of the session, I'm puking in the trash can. And he's telling me like, look, it's you're very rough. You need this, and that, pretty much everything. In other words, you suck at everything. But I think there could be like a diamond in the dirt. I think we could polish you. What's your goal? I'm like, I want to be a UFC fighter. He's like, okay, I think I can make it happen, but it's going to take 10 years. Are you willing to train hard for 10 years to make it happen? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, okay, so let's get to work. And ever since, we've been working together. He took me to Syndicate, where I was training for like 9 years. That's where I did like my MMA training, group training, sparring, all that stuff. But he would train me one-on-one, like sharpening up my striking for years until this day. And every time, after I'd fight or anything, I'd ask to pay him, and he'd say no. When I first told him, like, how much do I pay you? He's like, don't worry about it. Then it took me a few years to actually get fighting. So when I started fighting amateur, I'm like, coach, can I pay you? No. Then I turned pro. I win a fight. I make maybe, I don't know, $1,000. Coach, can I pay you? No, you didn't really make money. Because it would cost me much more to fight than what I made, of course. For years and years and years, he trained me for free. Only after 7 years, it didn't take 10 years, it took 7 years. Only after 7 years, during COVID, I got a short notice to fight on Contender Series. On 2 days' notice, I fought like a weight class and a half above me, and I choked the guy out with the arm triangle in the 3rd round. I got my UFC contract. That was the first time he actually let me pay him ever.
That's awesome, man.
Do you know what? How often was he training you at that point? He's obviously doing it for free, but how many? Was it an hour a day he was dedicating to you, or was it, more than that?
I'd say like an hour and a half a day. Not all days of the week. Also kind of depends. Sometimes we would train like 2-3 hours at a time. It just kind of depends. I was crazy, man. I would train like, because of my visa. That's why also I made a big mistake by closing my gym, is I couldn't stay in America for too long. I had my French passport. I could come in for 3 months at a time. And then I would have to go back to Israel for at least 6 months. So first time I come to Vegas, I train with Giff for 3 months. And by the end of it, I'm like, coach, can I please fight? And he's like, you're not ready yet. So I have to fly back home, no fight. But what now? I don't have a gym. I don't have income. I gave all my students to like different coaches I believed in, instead of like just paying some guy to come train them. I thought I was doing the right thing for them. But actually, on one hand, I screwed myself over because now I had to work security all night. I would make, a full night of security is what I would make with one private, 1 hour when I was coaching.
Wow.
So I screwed myself over, and honestly, even it was bad for them because it gave them like, I didn't want them to get inconsistency. But I think they would have been better training with me and having some coach replace me every time for 3 months.
Yeah.
Than like going to different coaches, and honestly, they just weren't good enough. They just weren't good enough coaches. So I have this like back and forth for 4 years. That I go to Vegas. Yeah, I go to Vegas every time 3 months, train as hard as I can, and that means training. Also, I lived with Fredson Paixão. He was my first jiu-jitsu coach. I think 5 times world champion, maybe 7. So I would train with him at 10 a.m. Then train at Syndicate, like same gym, Syndicate MMA at 11:30. So 10 to 11:30 jiu-jitsu, 11:30 to 1 MMA. Then I would go to Giff and train. I would ride my bicycle to Giff.
Knew there'd be a bicycle in there somewhere.
Yeah. And like in Okinawa, I would ride my bicycle every day to get to the gym. And it would be like, I think 25 miles. There was like 2 hours of riding. And in Okinawa, I would ride uphill on the way there. And at least it was downhill after training. And I did it in like an hour or something or less. Same thing exactly in Vegas. Same distance. Same bicycle ride uphill. I'd get there, my legs would be dead. I could barely jump rope. I trained with Giff, and then ride my bicycle back to my house, and then I would do jiu-jitsu again at night. So at least 4 sessions a day. Sometimes I would just go and like if we felt we needed it, I would go and just ride my bike to Giff and just train with him all morning. So not like many different sessions, but just hours and hours of training. So 4 years I'm back and forth before I even had my first amateur fight.
Mate, that's mad.
This is such a crazy start to where, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? Dedication is inspiring, really.
Yeah. And how were you sort of sustaining yourself financially with this? Are you even able to work in Vegas when you were there?
No, I didn't. I couldn't, as far as my visa, and also I didn't have time for it. I was here for like training like a madman. So I would work very hard in Israel. And every time I'd fly to Vegas and I'd be like, this time I'm going to fight. And then you come back and you didn't fight. Few times because coach, Giff was telling me I'm not ready yet. And I listened. And then when I was ready, fights started to fall off. So I was scheduled to like be here 3 months. We set a fight for the last month. So I'm doing a camp and then I fight. But the guy pulls out. The guy doesn't show up for weigh-ins. So I have to go back home, come back. This fight falls through. This fight falls through. This guy, we're already weighing in, but he's got like a mouth infection. They're not letting him. Bro, the worst luck in the world. My coach, Giff, he was always telling me, if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck. And at the end, I did fight first amateur fight in 2016. I went 4-0 amateur that year. Then I turned pro. I broke my hand in my last fight. I was out for a year. Then I went pro, went 5-0 in a couple years. And then I got that contenders fight.
Yeah. So was there ever a moment of doubt in your mind? Because, you know, your story so far is obviously one of incredible resilience and stubbornness and determination. But, you know, with the toing and froing, with the bad luck with the bouts,
No money.
yeah, being skinned. I mean, were you ever doubting yourself, or have you been always pretty headstrong with it?
I don't know if I was doubting myself, but I was doubting the universe. I was doubting
Yeah, like doubting the process.
something doesn't want me to fight. Like the universe is against me. Like this doesn't make any sense. And every time you show up and people are like, well, Natan, what about that fight? I thought you were going to be an MMA fighter. Oh, well, the guy had the mouth infection. Like you start telling the stories, people are thinking you're bullshitting.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I wanted to quit a million times. Like most of my flights home from Vegas were like, fuck this, I'm done with this. I'm going to reopen my gym. I'm going to do this and that. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm not going back. But then I'd get to work, save money, buy the flight ticket, and just go do it without thinking. And same thing also, again, like a lot of parallels with Okinawa. I was young and I didn't know how to spend my money right. And I spent all my money in like the first 3 weeks, the second time I was there. And now I had 2.5 more months to stay there. And I lived on like pretty much rice. Like I had no money. I was starving. I was training super hard every day. And every day I told myself, next week I'm flying home. That's it. I'm sick of it. Next week I'm flying home. They're torturing me here. They're, you know, I was like Uchideshi. It's like prodigy, disciple. Like I had the coach on me at all times. I had to do so many things, from like flipping everybody's shoes. Because when you walk in, you take your shoes off, right? You take your slides off in Japan. So I had to go and turn everybody's shoes. So when they leave, it's already waiting for them in the right direction. I had to pour everybody's drinks. I had to carry everybody's bags. I have to do so many things, and I was so sick of it. And I was broke. And every time I did have a good meal, it was because the sensei invited us. He's like, okay, today we're going to have lunch after training. But he would order the food for you. You had no say in what he's ordering for you. So I was always hoping it's chicken katsu. But sometimes he'd order some jellyfish or something crazy that I didn't want to eat, but I had to. So every time I was like, that's it, I'm leaving. Next week, I'm changing my flight ticket and I'm leaving early. But I never did it. And same thing in Vegas. All the time I was like, I'm not coming back. This is it. This is over. I live in the matrix, and there's no scenario where I can fight in a cage. Like it's out of the realm of realities for me. But then I just keep going and going and going until it actually happened.
Yeah, it's amazing, mate. And then obviously you got the big break with the Contender Series, and obviously, you know, obviously the sort of 9 fights in at this point, so 4 amateur and 5 pro. I mean, obviously, what was it? 2 weeks notice? Did you say?
2 days.
2 days. I mean, it sounds like you train incredibly hard. Or certainly then you were training incredibly hard all the time, so probably quite in quite good shape, I guess. But again, was there a moment of doubt, thinking this is the shot? If I mess this up, it's done, or did you just get straight into that?
I think, you know, I started pretty late. You would say I started karate at 15. Some people start at 5. I started MMA just training at 22. You know, first amateur fight 24, first pro fight 26. Like I'm behind already.
Yeah.
And I was 29, I think, when I got contenders. Obviously, I'm not that young, but also I'm not that old. And I think something that did, carry with me always is, I was very scared for the contenders fight. Scared, I mean, like excited and scared of the uncertainty of what could happen and what if I lose and what if I win, and it's really big stakes. But first thing is I believed in myself that even if I lose, I'll find a way back. And that's something that walked with me always. Like every MMA fight, I'd go like, someday I'm gonna lose, but it's not today. And if I do lose, it's okay because I'll win myself back to where I am. So I had this confidence, not that I can beat anybody, but I'm consistently, I'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is even like, I was terrified of the contenders fight. Same thing. I thought like, well, there's no way but through. Might as well be relaxed, or more to say, calm. Do it the best way, the right way, do my best, not think too much about the outcome. And in the end, it's going to be a memory. So let's make it a good memory.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. And I think I'm right in thinking with the Contender Series, even if you get the win, you're still not guaranteed a contract, right? You've got to obviously, you've got to impress Dana and the rest of the guys that make the decisions around that. I mean, you obviously got the win, you got the submission. Was there a conversation that you had with like anyone backstage where you found out at that point that you were getting an opportunity then on the big stage in the UFC?
I knew. I knew. I had like, I think I called my mom from backstage after I won. And I was just like, Mom, I'm going to get the UFC contract. I'll call you like, I won, I'm happy. Thank you. I love you. And like, I'll call you after I get the contract. Like I knew I'm getting the contract.
Class.
Yeah. And when did that confirmation come? When did you find out?
They have you sit on like these chairs, and then Dana goes on like, oh, this guy did this, but he didn't try to finish it. And then he went on like, to me, he gave a bunch of compliments, which obviously, getting compliments from the boss is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just knew like it was, finally, like with so much always not knowing what's going to happen all my career. You never know, as an MMA fighter, you never know when you're going to fight. I had so many cancellations. I can never 100% believe that I am going to fight. Even after I signed the contract, I always feel like something could go wrong. Even now, I'm having a hard time when I'm in the UFC to fight consistently. Couple times, I was sick and they pulled me out even though I begged to fight. Few times my opponent pulled out. And I mean, I am not in a great situation right now. I have 4 fights in the UFC and 4 fights since I got signed. So a lot of like unknown, a lot of unknown. When am I going to fight? I signed the contract. Is it actually going to happen? You don't know. But at this moment, I had certainty that the contract is mine. Amazing,
man. Well, congratulations, because it's just getting that far is obviously an incredible achievement. And after all of that adversity, that journey, mate, it's well deserved. So that's brilliant. Obviously, you then had your first fight. So I know the result and how that went, but give us your take on obviously that experience for you having that first fight, the result, and kind of where your head was at afterwards.
Until that point, I was undefeated in amateur and pro MMA. And, I think it was a good matchup for me. I think the fight was good. If I can give one complaint is, again, it was like after over a year of not fighting since I got my contract, which was, could have played a part, could have not, I don't know, but I just wish I got in more fights. And Rafa Garcia, the opponent, very game, very good, but I really think I'm better. And, we fought. I dislocated my toes in like the first kick I threw. That's not an excuse because it happens. Shit happens to everybody in every fight. Like that's part of the fight. He blocked my kick, so that's pretty much like he's punching me in the face. Same. That means he's winning. and I had a bit of a hard time to like deal with it, find my balance, clear the thoughts of like what's going on. Is it gonna ruin the fight? Is this, is that? By the end of the first round, like I lost the round. But okay, I got my head together. Second round, I think I pretty much destroyed him on the feet. And then I think he got my number on the takedowns. Third round, I think I was doing much more damage on the feet, but he took me down a few times. I think he won that round and he won the fight. So that was a big disappointment for me.
Yeah. And then where was your head at? Because you'd obviously been on this huge journey. You'd got this opportunity with the Contender Series. You'd won that. And then obviously the first fight, suffering your first defeat. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, like, you know, were you doubting the process, you know, or is this just, I think, you know, just one of those things that you just accept, kind of brush yourself off and carry on with doing what you do?
Man, it was depressing because I always believed in myself, but I always also knew I'm human. I can lose to anybody any day. One wrong move in the cage and you're waking up looking at the ceiling. So I felt I was pretty self-conscious. But this one, I was really sure I had him. This one, I'm like, this is a perfect matchup for me. It was my first fight at 55 where I actually, you know, cut weight and I was like getting ready for this division. But yeah, like it really stinged. And then, you know, your head gets filled with like overthinking and fear because I have some friends who are great prospects. They got in the UFC, they went 0-3 and got sent home, you know. No UFC win. So it's like, could this happen to me? Am I on the way to go 0-3 in the UFC and everything was for nothing? I could never say this whole journey was for nothing, but you know what I mean? And that's where like I got in a pretty dark place, like as far as like negative thoughts and negative thought loops and like feeling like that's it, like my career is over, you know? But then I went on to get my first UFC win a few months later. Another fight, another win in the UFC against a very good opponent. He was, at the time, he was 10-1. Crazy fighter, Genaro Valdez. And, you know, I think it was my best performance of my life. And after that, I didn't fight for like a year and a half, mainly because opponents pulled out, it didn't make weight, all kinds of annoying stuff that like you have no control over. Then even like I was getting ready to fight in September 2023, and they pulled me out of the fight because I had a virus, even though I didn't care. And I begged to fight. So, you know, I haven't fought since since December 2022 till March 2024.
Whoa, that's so long. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah. And unlike Rafa, which I can say, you know, I think I beat him 9 times out of 10, and I'd love a rematch. I fought Mike Davis, which, you know, I think he's a very good fighter. I do think I could beat him. I took this fight believing I can beat him, but I do know how high level of a fighter he is. For me, it was like taking a fight against a top 15 guy. And it was a big risk, big reward, because on one hand, I feel like I lost another year and a half of my career over bullshit. But if I would have fought and would have won, maybe I would have gotten the opportunity to fight somebody like him from the top 15. So it's almost like, all right, we didn't get the journey, but we got the goal. The goal is to fight somebody that good. Let's go. So I did it, and I lost pretty decisively, which I'm fine with. That's okay, because I do know how good of a fighter he is, and I learned from it, and I'll improve from it. But now I'm just waiting to get back in there.
Yeah. So where are you currently at then? Because that was obviously March. We're now in November. So have you got anything booked at this point?
I'm waiting. I've been waiting for months.
Okay. What are these sort of scenarios like for sort of yourself and the UFC kind of working together? I mean, is there regular communication? Are there names being thrown at you, or are you literally just sat in the dark waiting for a phone call or a contract to come through?
Yeah, you're just sitting and waiting. I know I didn't have like a good performance. Even my camp was shit, and I feel like I could have done better, at least put on a better show, even if I lose, which is what I'm always striving to. But it was just a bad day. Not only I lost, but I didn't feel good, so I had a bad performance. So I understand they're not in a hurry to book me. That's okay. But also at some point, time is moving. I just turned 33. I don't have 10 more years of doing this. I have a few more years. I want to do it right. I want to give my everything. So I'm just waiting for that phone call.
And what happens to you? Obviously, was it a 5-fight contract you got?
No, I had a 4-fight contract. Mm-hmm. I did 3, and then they re-signed me on a new contract. So I just have 1 fight from my current deal.
Yeah, so you have 1 fight left. So
no, I have 3 more left.
Oh, you got 3 more left?
Yeah, on the new deal.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So when you're not fighting, do you earn any money from it?
No, I have I do like sponsors, like advertisement on Instagram and stuff. I teach seminars when I'm outside of the US, in Israel and Europe and stuff. I teach also seminars in America, but more like a volunteering for the Jewish community, because they're very targeted right now. So I want to help them feel safe and be more confident and stronger in the face of an attack. And that's pretty much it. And I train all day. That's my real job.
I just find it wild. Like you said, you go 18 months and potentially that's like no income for 18 months. And it must be hard to, obviously you earn good money when you fight. But again, if you live in that lifestyle, it's hard to know when your next paycheck's coming effectively. Yeah,
the UFC was kind enough to, when I had opponent pull out 2 weeks in a row, so they gave me my show and win money. So I did get one paycheck really at least that year. Yeah, that was very kind of them.
Yeah, they say they do look after the fighters when they can and stuff like that. I get it. I see both sides to it. You know what I mean? Obviously, if people are not fighting and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, hopefully you get a fight soon then, mate. It'd be great to see you back in there. And obviously from a training perspective, I think you've got some notable training partners. I think you do a bit of work and you're friends with Sean Strickland and Curtis, I think, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got the right sort of background and mentality to be training with someone like Strickland, but do you get many rounds in with him? I know there's a bit of a size difference, but how's training with those guys?
Yeah, Strickland's too big.
Okay.
And not nice enough. Curtis is nice, Curtis, we can spar. I know he's not going to try and take my head off. Sean, prefer to not test it.
To be honest with you, mate, I don't blame you.
How's it been seeing the success that he's had, though? Obviously, sort of both his personality and obviously his performances in the cage as well have been amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Seeing your friends win, it's great, especially when you've seen them. When I met Strickland, you couldn't see him without like paint on his clothes. He was painting houses, and he had some beat up truck, and he had a gi in the back that was calcified. The gi was like stone or something. He would wear it and then just leave it in the back of the truck and wear it. I hope he washed it once in a while, but I can't testify to that. And and seeing him, get back from his injury and on a winning streak, crazy win streak, taking so many fights on short notice, fighting anybody, really inspiring to watch, and then becoming a world champion. Incredible. And now hopefully getting it back soon. Yeah,
man. It's amazing seeing it. It's awesome.
And crazy gym conversations, the funniest you'll ever hear.
Oh, I can imagine, mate. I can imagine that gym must be unbelievable just to be in, because he's such a character. He's such a knob, isn't he?
Every time like somebody records like just a regular gym conversation, it goes like viral and people go crazy. And like that's just being around Strickland. Anytime you're around him, like you don't want anybody listening or you're going to get canceled.
Because I think gym environments are a little bit like that in a way. I think anybody that's been around, certainly fight gyms long enough, will know that there's always a bit of that, but it certainly seems to be to a whole nother level with Strickland at Syndicate for sure.
Yeah, like Theo Vaughn says, a little bit of daytime racism, nothing too hateful.
Yeah.
Just talking shit.
Just a bit of casual stuff, yeah.
Yeah, just the casual stuff, just talking shit all the time to everybody.
Yeah, I love it. He's definitely a character. And then obviously we mentioned at the beginning, but obviously in your downtime, you've obviously done the Ultimate Self-Defense Championships as well, which you recently won. So congratulations on winning that and becoming the champion of season 2. I guess a couple of questions initially was, one, how did that come about? And two, did the UFC have any objections to you doing that sort of thing?
It came about, in that year that I was like waiting for a fight and nothing was happening. Ruckus had invited me, but I was really living by never commit to anything because I could always have a fight and I don't know when. And especially when you haven't fought in so long, you're like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. The last thing I want is to be in Australia and get a call, hey, can you fight in 3 weeks? And I'm in Australia. But at some point I was like, you know what? Let me go live my life a little bit. And if they call, they call and we'll deal with it. But I need to do also some different things. Since it's not a combat sport, it's not commissioned. It was basically, as far as like legality, it's training. Like we had the headgear and stuff. I don't need like the UFC. It wasn't really a competition as far as commission goes or anything like that. It was more like training scenarios, training challenges. Mm-hmm. There's a winner, but I wouldn't really call it a sport.
Yeah.
So that was fine. And I had a blast on the show. Ruckus reached out to me. I said, you know what, I'll do it. And it was a lot of fun. It was challenging. And for anybody who watched the show, I had this first like bad day where I was like being too nice and being too timid and not sure like how hard I should go. And then I said, you know what? The hell with it. I don't care who gets hurt. I'm going hard. And from that point, the show became a lot more fun and I think a lot more entertaining.
Yeah, it was a great watch, and we spoke to Jordan as well, and he kind of mentioned you and kind of said about the fact that he as well was going to be easy, and then kind of saw you go a bit harder, and then a little bit later on he started picking it up a little bit as well. Obviously, he suffered the injury, unfortunately, but it sounds like there was a little bit of friendly competition between you two as well, being potentially two of the favorites to potentially win it.
Yeah, same thing. He put like a fire underneath me because I had this terrible first day and I went first. It's edited differently, but I went first. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't do too good. And then I see him do the first challenge. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy's going for broke. Like he's taking no prisoners. And also his attitude around the house. It was almost like everybody was being friendly, of course. But he was like, I'm here to win. And I was like, it kind of pissed me off in a good way. I was like, you're here to win? Bro, I'm here, so take a seat.
Because it was an interesting mixture of contestants, wasn't it? Because you've got yourself, who's obviously an elite fighter at the highest level. You've got the other chap, what's his name? The other mixed martial artist, the YouTuber.
Jeff Chan.
Yes,
he's
thank
great.
you, yeah. I keep thinking Joseph Chen, but yeah, Jeff. And then you've obviously got Jordan, who's got an amateur MMA background, but primarily is a jiu-jitsu guy. And then you've got obviously the YouTubers. You've got the karate dude, Jesse, the Shaolin monk. And then, of course, you've got Craig, who's just the everyday bloke from Australia. So it's an interesting, like, a mixture. I mean, like, what did you make of that dynamic in the house of those different people and the different styles?
Man, it was fun. Everybody's different. It's always good to meet new people and martial artists. Obviously, you're in a similar headspace, but also the difference is part of the fun. Like Anton, he's so funny, so fun to be around. Like to this crazy levels of energy. Jordan is much more like low, like chill, low energy, but also a great guy and really good jiu-jitsu coach. I love his videos, by the way. And for me, it's easier to learn from his YouTube with his energy, right? Than like Anton's videos are like ADHD on steroids. It's like, it's entertaining, but I couldn't learn a thing. I couldn't repeat one thing he said during his videos. So everybody was different. Jesse is cool. He's got like crazy charisma, but he's at the same time, very humble guy. Jeff Chan, also a different character. And I had a blast, competing with them with a different style and like different problem solving was fun, and hanging out at the house was fun. And a little bit, I didn't, I feel bad about it, but I had to do it because Jordan was such a threat. I had to play mind games with him and kind of stress him out before challenges.
What was you doing to him?
Man, it was, I even sometimes wasn't sure what I was trying to do, because on one hand, like I leave some challenge limping just to make him think the challenge is like going to be super scary, so he stresses out. But on the other hand, I'm telling him like I knocked everybody out in challenges, and let the word go around him when I did knock somebody out. So I was trying to get him both like scared of me and scared of the challenges. At the end of the day, like I really believed I was going to beat him, and I didn't need it. Even though he's great, really, he was like, like I say, anybody can beat me, especially it's not an MMA fight. It's a 20 seconds fight. He could like Imanari roll to my leg, get a good grip, and I would have to tap, or I would stay there for the whole round and lose. Like anything could happen. He could throw in a good shot too. He can strike. But I was confident I was going to win. I just needed him to be confident that I was going to win.
Yeah, nicely played, mate. Well done.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to do it. So who knows, maybe a future season. Obviously, we're friends. I really like him. But we got the unfinished business as far as competitively. But people think like I don't like him or something, because the show, like I really like him. I really think he's cool, chill dude. I love his YouTube channel. I learn from him. So, I have a lot of respect for him, and there's a good friendship there. I just like even if I'd be friends with somebody from my UFC division, like I'd still fight him. If it's not like a brother, like friend, I'd fight anybody in my division,
Yeah. And then the actual events themselves, obviously you've obviously, you've tested yourself from a sports combat or combat sports perspective in, again, the highest arena. And this is obviously a completely different scenario now, isn't it? Because we're talking bar fights, like knife attacks, all sorts of crazy things. I mean, how much did you know about the different events? Had you seen season 1 before you did season 2?
So that's the funny thing. I didn't watch too much of season 1. Like, I saw a photo of them geared up. I commented that looks cool. Like I understood what they were doing. Then Rakas reached out to me, asked if I was interested. I said, yeah. Then I watched like maybe a couple episodes and flew to Australia to do it. So I wasn't super well prepared.
So what had you seen before going?
I had seen like the first episode of the boss fights.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And I think maybe the Shank Tank or something.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't think I knew there were more episodes. Like it's, the naming is like YouTube videos and not like episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah.
So I thought I had seen it all, but I haven't.
So it was a bit of a shock then when you went there.
Yeah.
Which events, I guess, did you feel that you thrived in the most, and which ones did you struggle with perhaps the most?
I think my favorite ones were like the bar fight.
Uh-huh.
As far as like before the challenge, you don't know what you're going to do. You have no idea. But they give you maybe like a couple of directions, and this one was like Jeff Phillips told me, it's gonna be like a video game. You're gonna go somewhere, and the mission's gonna start, and you gotta deal with it. Like, all right. And this felt like the most gamified, like the fact that it was a situation, somebody, oh, hey, you're talking to my girlfriend, like that was fun. And that also put a lot of adrenaline in me that made it feel like a street fight. And like, even when you're a pro fighter, when somebody, approaches you in the street or kind of wants to fight, you still get a little bit like adrenaline. Your legs like shake a little bit, like you feel that adrenaline more than like a sparring, right? So this challenge felt more like a street fight and less like a sparring with a knife or this really felt real. And it was a ton of fun. Shank Tank felt more like a hard sparring session, but you already know, okay, here's the guy, here's the knife, go. So it was more like a martial arts challenge and like a thinking challenge too much. And the ones I didn't like so much was the first one, obviously, and the bouncer one. And I've been a bouncer before. I worked in nightclubs and security and stuff, but you get 10 bouncers for one fight, not one bouncer for 10 fights. So I wasn't really sure how to deal with it. I tried to do my best. I think I placed maybe one of the worst. And I, till this day, couldn't tell you, like, what should I have done?
Yeah. Do you know what? I thought that with that one. I was like, this is anarchy. Like, what are you supposed to do in this? If you're a bouncer in this situation, you're not paid enough to deal with it, I'll just walk out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll be like, yeah, it's all right. You want to kill yourself. You want to kill each other. To carry on.
I think the only ones that placed worst were like Anton and Craig, because they were like, I quit.
Yeah.
But I felt there was some inconsistency because in the bar scenario, they gave Craig points for like leaving the bar. But now when he quits, it's not good. Like at the end of the day, it's self-defense championship. It's not like bodyguard championships.
Yeah.
That could be a different show.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So again, no, it's cool. It's fun. And actually they did this challenge because we were asking for more challenges. We were like, hey, the week is almost over and we didn't like sweat enough. Give us some more challenges. We want the show to be great. We want you to have more episodes, more content. So we did that one. But yeah, I didn't really like that challenge.
Yeah, no, it was all fun to watch, and we mentioned it already, I think. But your spinning back kick in the shank tank, I thought you'd put that guy in a wheelchair. Honestly, you hit him so hard. Was the guy okay afterwards? Took
him some time to be okay. I think somebody from a different back kick went to the hospital that I threw, but I think Aaron just lay there for like 30 minutes and then he got up and he was fine.
Okay. I mean, it was beautiful to watch. It was well set up and well executed. So
but in fairness, like from the other point, they deserve it because they don't go easy on you. Do you know what I mean? They're going in on you. They're going in on you, you know?
Look, I learned my lesson first day. I had the broomstick and I was going nice to their head. And I thought okay, he's going to drop. But he's not dropping. So I go a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. By the time I hit him with the fifth time, like I get stabbed and I'm like, you know what? Next time, I'm actually going to drop them. It's not going to be a what if he did this? What if he did that? What if he threw harder? What if he didn't pull it? I'm just not going to pull it. And we'll see who's the last man standing.
Yeah. And obviously, Jordan took a very different approach to the shank tank to you. What did you make of that when you saw it?
So most challenges, we did not watch each other. Certainly not before you went. It was like you went in a room before and you go back to the room after. Only the first day you could see people running out of the building when they were done. And the last couple of days, you could like on the bus and in the shank tank, you could, after you're done, go and watch. So I was lucky enough to watch this live. And before that, Jordan was telling me he's going to pull guard. And I was trying to tell him it's a good idea because I thought it would make him lose. and I thought it'd be fun to watch. I thought it'd be good content. But when he did it, man, I was amazed. Like, it was incredible. I don't understand why he stopped at some point. I think like he wanted to change strategy or something. It seemed to be working at the time. I don't really understand why he tried to change strategy. But yeah, man, I was amazed by it. I'm impressed by this guy. He's got great skills, and he's athletic. He's a unit. The only thing that pissed me off was that he took his shin guards off and his mask. On one hand, I thought maybe the stabbers won't go as hard to his face because they'd be like worried of hitting him in the eye, which, kind of puts him at an advantage almost. Like, on one hand, it's not safe. Like, the guy is risking his eyeballs, and I certainly don't wish him to get hurt. On the other hand, hey, maybe the attackers will see this and not stab him as hard, and like, it's not fair. Second thing was him taking his shin guards off. Like, shin guards are clumsy. Nobody likes having shin guards on, especially not when you're doing MMA sparring or anything like that.
Yeah, they're awful.
But to keep it fair and equal, I wanted him to keep the shin guards on. But, I also didn't want to like complain too much, and I was doing enough to try to make him lose. So that was, the thing I was most concerned on was his safety. I was like, I told, I think one of the organizers, like, please have him put his helmet on.
Yeah, but mate, you got the win nonetheless. Win's a win, huh? So it's all good.
Yeah, win's a win. Me and Jordan got some unfinished business. In the meantime, we'll stay friends, and hopefully, we do another season together one day, or we just train together soon. I'd love to roll with him. Not even in a competition. I just love to train with him. So we'll do one or the other soon.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And obviously the show was incredibly entertaining, but I think Rokus's and Jeff's sort of vision for the show was obviously some education there as well. I mean, given the skill set that you've got and the fighting ability that you've got, and obviously the lived experience of biting people as a teenager and working the doors and everything else, I mean, what are your thoughts now on self-defense? Certainly when, maybe facing a not armed assailant.
Look, I still believe that if you don't need self-defense when you know how to fight. However, I don't think it can hurt knowing some knife defense, some gun defense, but I just feel like some of it is so theoretic that you can't really know if it works. That's why I am happy that we got a guy coming on season 3 that is actually like battled, experienced, former commando or something.
Okay.
So that'd be interesting. Or somebody that's actually like a police officer in a rough neighborhood could be cool. Somebody who actually disarmed knife before and disarmed gun, that's somebody I'd like to learn from. Some people who learn from somebody, who says, he knows how to deal with knives. Less my thing.
Yeah, fair point. And I think, looking forward to future seasons to see what Rokus and Jeff come up with in regard to, both contestants and scenarios. So it'd be good. Natan, thank you so much for your time, mate. We'll let you go shortly because I know you got to shoot off and probably get to training. But did you want to say anything to our audience before you head off? Any messages you want to sort of shout out, or any thanks you want to offer to anybody?
No, just to say thank you to anybody who watched the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And that's it. I'm looking forward to season 3 of the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. They're doing a GoFundMe right now to fund the show. So the more funding, the better the show is going to be, the longer the episode. So anyone who's a fan of the show could, pitch in. And looking forward for my next UFC fight, make a big comeback. I'm feeling good. I'm in shape. And I'm ready to get in there and put on a show. And thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. And hope you get that contract soon. And we very much look forward to seeing you fight again, my friend. Thanks for coming on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Natan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, mate.